Hello, and welcome to the Creature Double Feature. This afternoon, find out who will be the victor when vicious monsters engage in a fierce and bloody battle in Godzilla's Revenge. Then at 2:30, a world-famous diamond detective encounters a gigantic jellyfish in Dagora, the Space Monster.
Greetings, and welcome to another exciting episode of Pretentious Internet Theatre. I am your host, Andrew Cook, and I'm so elite, I drop not only candy in the average trick-or-treater's bag, I also drop knowledge and wisdom. That's right. This is the special Halloween episode of Pretentious Internet Theatre, episode 13. And I couldn't have planned this any better if I tried. I'd like to start off tonight, as always, with a quote. One need not be a chamber to be haunted. One need not be a house. The brain has corridors surpassing material place. That quote comes from Emily Dickinson. That most certainly will apply tonight when I have a bevy of Halloween tales for you. Get the candles lit and ready. Set the lights down low. Turn off your computer monitor and enjoy. Pretentious Internet Theatre proudly presents If I Were a Monster by Plastic Dolly. If I were a monster, I would be a vampire! I love vampires. Well, time to go to Dracula's office. The Count gave me a kiss. I'm officially a vampire! Blah! And I can suck the blood out of my victims. Just kidding. I was going to be a vegetarian, and that means I suck the blood out of pre-dead bodies. Being a vampire is thrilling. Blah. What a story by Plastic Dolly. Certainly a tale that's comparable to her peers featured on this program, and only 7 years old. Let's continue with our Halloween-themed show with our next tale. Our next story: Haunted House, a Sayonara Zetsubo-sensei fanfic by Q Static. The girl walked cautiously down the dark hallway. There were cobwebs on the walls and ceiling, and occasional tinted lights that were arranged in a way that was somehow deeply unsettling. The walls were covered with strange, dusty, old portraits. Their eyes seemed to follow you as you moved. Deep in the darkness, there was a sound of something of small scurrying softly. The girl ducked under some of the longer cobwebs and knocked others aside with a wave of her hand. As she walked, the floorboards beneath her feet creaked protest, some more plaintively than others. In the background, there was some sort of vaguely spooky recording playing, with occasional high-pitched laughter or vague, low, ghostly chuckles. Suddenly, a man in a skeleton costume leapt out from behind a corner, yelling and waving his arms. That's odd, thought the man in the costume. I could have sworn I saw somebody there. He peered deeper into the darkness. Saw no one. Guess it's just me after all, he thought to himself, which is why the tap on his shoulder surprised him enough that he actually fell over and landed flat on his face. A girl in a traditional Japanese outfit towered over him. "Who the hell do you think I am?" she asked coldly. "You're 1,000 years too early to try sneaking up on me." She then turned and disappeared into the darkness. So swiftly and silently, he would have doubted she had been there, if not for the prickle on the back of his neck, that feeling that someone, somewhere, was watching. "Eek!" shrieked the girl. The costume man paused. "You know," he remarked, "I've been doing the same gag for years now. I don't think I've gotten a reaction quite that ordinary." "Don't say Oh, forget it," muttered the girl. She stalked off angrily. "Wait, I didn't mean..." The man called after her. She was already gone. "You call that a skeleton? asked the girl angrily. It's obvious you felt glued to your clothes. Here, she continued, I'll show you how to do it properly. With somewhat alarming deftness, she suddenly had knives in both her hands. Don't worry, I'll make this quick. The costume man turned and jumped back behind a corner. Don't think you can get away that easily, the girl shouted as she gave chase, her long hair somehow remaining perfectly straight as it streamed behind her. However, when she turned the corner, the man had already disappeared into a trapdoor. She searched for a bit, couldn't find him. Well, you could at least do that much properly, she admitted grudgingly as she left. Behind his emergency trapdoor, the man let out a long, slow sigh. Wasn't he supposed to be the scary one here? Clearly, they weren't paying him enough for this. There was a skeleton staring back at him in shock. It was tall and wore glasses. Wait, you mean there's someone else here with the same cosplay as me? Oh no, how embarrassing! I'll have to go home and change. The man stared at her as she walked off. What did she mean by cosplay? Suddenly, his phone rang. A new text message. Only a few people had this number, and they all knew better than to try and send him a message during work, unless it was an emergency. He glanced at it, annoyed. That's such a stupid-looking costume. I've seen more convincing outfits on little kids, and who the hell jumps out from behind corners in this day and age? How are you expecting to scare anybody with this kind of worthless routine? As he read this, the girl kicked him in the shins, and then scampered off. Swearing softly, he rubbed his bruised shin and settled back into place. The girl stared at him in admiration. Wow, that's so amazing! To think anyone could stick with a diet so long and still have the energy to help out in a haunted house. You're truly an inspiration to overweight people everywhere. The costume man felt that perhaps a misunderstanding had occurred somehow. No, you see, No need to explain, exclaimed the girl, her eyes shining with admiration. You've stuck with this diet so long that you're practically just skin and bones. Well, she allowed, more bones than skin, but still, I salute your dedication. Keep it up. He tried again. No, actually, Good luck, she wished him, blithely ignoring his attempts to clear up the situation. As she skipped off happily, the costume man sank to his knees. He'd worked the same haunted house for a few years and had thought he'd seen it all, but this Halloween had surprised even him. When this day was over, I'm done with this job, and done with haunted houses, he thought. Could find a less draining way to support himself. After all, no one could be expected to deal with this many strange people in one day and still keep their sanity. There certainly was a spine-tingling epic. My cue static. Of course, Sayonara Zesubo Sensei is also known as Goodbye, Mr. Despair. Let's continue on our next tale. Our next story is Deadpool and the Great Big Mystery Maniac by Digimon Tama B. Author's note. Well, let's get this started. Chapter 1. Deadpool needed the vacation. Well, actually, no, he didn't need one. He just wanted one. Why? Geez, you people always want a reason. Can't people just go on vacation just for the fun of things anymore? I'm a Barbie girl. In the Barbie world, life in plastic. It's fantastic. You can brush my hair, undress me. City police, pull over now. Geez, all I'm doing is riding a stolen car, going 60 over the speed limit, driving on the wrong side of the road. Is that a crime? Said Deadpool's Patsy. She was hogtied and gagged. The minute Deadpool didn't need this car, he would cut the bonds and leave her to take the blame after deliberately getting into a massive car accident, causing untold property damage and more than 10 deaths. Molly Cyrus, you're under arrest for Grand Theft Auto, irresponsible driving, and manslaughter. Not a bad place to set up camp, Deadpool declared, looking around the apartment. He teleported a few meters from the accident and then tracked down the nearest apartment building. He climbed through a random window and looked around. Stanley placed his key in the room door. Had he known what was waiting for him, he would have run away, tail between his legs, but he opened the door and got a handgun jammed into his eye. Congratulations! You've just been hired as Deadpool's official maid. You will do all the chores, tell no one, and receive absolutely no pay, or I could just throw you out the window. Deadpool flickered through channels as Stanley in a maid's dress fixed him a peanut butter sandwich. Excellent work, Stephanie. "Thank you, master," Stanley said, curtsying out of pure fear. "Take 5, baby." Deadpool gave him a quick kick to the rear, forgotten about the perfect solution of getting rid of this problem. A solution that was tilting off the top shelf of said closet. At that moment, Deadpool slammed the closet door open. "Hey, did I say you could take 5? Deadpool demanded. The vibrations caused said solution to fall down upon his face. A high-pitched whistle emitted from a twister, and Deadpool was thrown back. The twister spun around and around as lightning struck it, revealing a skeleton in a twister. The narrator could only say one thing. "Cue the music!" Seriously, go to YouTube and cue up his theme song. It kicks ass. "I gotcha!" With my winning smile. I'm the living lesson of flair and style. Can't but help but stare at my savoir-faire. I'm the new Bodeco, Roman Greco, Rococo, Barocco, bebop, hip-hop, flip-flop. Somebody stop me. Pretty Viridian faces like mine don't come dime a dozen. I stand out in the crowd, babe, when they made me. Yeah, they cut the mold. Wholesome and kind, staid and refined, totally out of my mind. Villains and ne'er-do-wells had better learn to decorate prison cells. Green goes with anything if they ask. See, there's one last thing I gotta sing about. Open up wide and pretty shout. Oh, look out! This is the mask! A green-faced figure in a yellow suit stood before him, smoking. Ipkiss? Yeah, boss, he said. You know what? You're right. That break was completely unnecessary. Let me make it up to you. He was talking very fast. Very fast. Deadpool was actually intimidated. Well, the green-faced man spun around and was suddenly in a maid outfit with a disturbingly short skirt and gave Deadpool a sultry wink. Under the mask, Deadpool's mouth hung opened. The green-faced man threw him into his chair, dusted him off, lit a cigar, and stuck it in his mouth without lifting the mask. Deadpool looked at him confused. This guy kind of reminds me of... Deadpool thought. Suddenly the cigar exploded. Me. Oh, what's this? The green-faced man inquired. Let me show you, Deadpool said politely, pulling the pin from a hand grenade the man had taken. He had run away quickly as he could and jumped behind the couch, covering his ears. Nothing happening, he heard. Deadpool stood up and looked. Still nothing. The green-faced man gently placed the grenade in his and walked away. Must be a dud. Boom! Deadpool stood, his costume black with soot and smoking. A small piece of his mask was on fire. The green-faced man's arm stretched out and lit a cigar on the fire on Deadpool's mask. Somebody stop me, he shouted, and ran away at supersonic speed, leaving a battered and bruised and burnt Deadpool in his wake. So this is what it's like on the other end of me, he said. It would appear there's a tourist in Edge City. Dr. Pretorius noted, fingertips touching as he watched the monitors hooked to the camera in Ipkiss's apartment. Walter, bring him here. He may prove useful. Giant of a man behind him walked away completely silent. Author's note. So there you go. I'm using the mask from the movie and cartoon series because I've never read the comics. Well, that was certainly a unique story, one I'm sure that Deadpool fans can truly appreciate, much more than that Wolverine movie. You gotta give me that. Moving on, our last story. Xander's Terribly Bad Halloween by Fallen Druid. Disclaimer. None of the works depicted herein, I'm just tormenting the characters. Author's note. Please don't hurt me. Chapter 1. What'd you get? Buffy asked. A time-honored classic. Willow holds up a ghost costume. Okay, Will, can I give you a little friendly advice? It's not spooky enough? It's just, you're never going to get noticed if you keep hiding. You're missing the whole point of Halloween. Willow smiles. Free candy? It's come as you aren't night. The perfect chance for a girl to get sexy and wild with no repercussions. Oh, I don't get wild. Wild on me equals spaz. Don't underestimate yourself. You've got it in you. Hey, Xander, Willow calls as he walks up to them. What'd you get? He pulls out a toy military rifle out of his bag and holds it up for Willow to see. That's not a costume. Xander just looks at Buffy, then turns to Willow. I got fatigues from an army surplus at home. Call me the $2 costume king, baby. He smiles at Willow. She frowns at him. Xander, that's not what we agreed on. I know, Will, but a bet's a bet, Xander. Come on, Wills, that's totally unfair. Willow gives him the look. Willow, he whines. More look. What's going on? Buffy asked. Willow's giving Xander the look. Long time ago, he made a bet with me. Just recently, I won the bet. Pursuant to the terms, I get to decide what he dresses like for one day. Stupid bet, Xander mutters to himself. Willow grins wickedly. At least I'm doing this on Halloween. He mutters some more. Don't do me any favors. He turns around. He walks back to the discount bin he'd gotten the gun from. Could be a bit getting the costume ready, Willow says. What's it going as? Now that is a secret. Oh, come on, you can tell. Buffy is distracted by the fancy dress. She slowly starts walking over to it. Buffy comes down the stairs and opens the doors for Xander. He enters. His hair, apparently about waist length, tied back into a ponytail. He's wearing a cheap fabric trench coat, and there's something odd about his face. Xander walks through the door and sees Buffy in her costume. Buffy? Lady of Buffington? Duchess of Buffona? I'm in awe! I completely renounce spandex. Curtsying, she replies, Thank you, kind sir. Xander bows in return. But wait till you see... Turns up the stairs at Willow. She put on the ghost sheet. It says boo on the front in large, bold letters. Hi, Casper. Hey, Will. That's a fine boo you got there. Where's your bodyguard, Harris? Curling her hair? Larry jumps at Xander, making him flinch. He laughs in Xander's face as if to rip the trench coat out before departing, still laughing. Xander finds his group of kids and gets them sort of organized. Okay, on sleazing extra candy, Tears are K. Tears will normally get you the double bagger. I can get the old you missed me routine, but it's risky. Only there for the chocolate, understood? They all nod their heads. Okay, gang. Mister, what are you wearing? One curious kid asks, looking under the trench coat. Xander blushes deeply. Clothes. Now let's move out. Xander jerks back. Has he been hit by something? He bent over slightly, looks down at his clothes. Slowly he straightens back up and surveys the scene around him. What the? A husky feminine voice emanates from Xander's lips. He watches several demonic-looking creatures scurry past. This can only be the work of... Then says something entirely different. Jupiter, crystal, power, makeup! Chapter 2. Author's note. Oh good, no one hurt me. I'd just like to thank all of you out there for that. Disclaimer, neither Sailor Moon nor Buffy the Vampire Slayer belong to me. Just like to make with the hurting. Chapter 2. Xander paces back and forth in front of Willow's house, waiting impatiently for her to start walking to school. In one hand he carries a sack, in the other an unlit cigarette. His hand is shaking. Willow finally exits her house. Willow, Xander calls, looking up at her. Hey, Xander. Willow looks down the path and hugs Xander lightly. Why do you have a cigarette? That's what I wanted to talk to you about, Xander says, stuffing the unlit cig into his mouth. Apparently Motoko's a smoker. I'm very not happy with this, Willow. I'm sorry, Willow squeaks. I mean, I didn't know this was going to happen, and I'm very sorry about it. I'd never make you dress up as anyone else ever again, not even on Hollow. You're babbling, Will, Xander says, smiling gently. Here. He shoves the sack into her hands. What's this? A bento. It's not much, just a simple bento. I made on reflex. Hey, why are you still wearing the wig? He mutters something under his breath. What? I said it's not a wig. He pulls the ponytail hard. It doesn't come off. He starts waving it at Willow. Do you have any idea how long it takes to shampoo 4 feet of hair? I didn't even have the right conditioner. He pauses. Willow could almost see him replaying what he just did. Since when do I care about conditioner? So why don't you just cut it off? He looks at her in shock and clutches the ponytail to himself protectively. How could you? That's why I can't cut it off. I can't bring myself to it. The two continue walking to school, Xander staring darkly at the ground and muttering imprecations quietly. Willow watches him in concern. As they approach the school, Larry intercepts them. Hey, Harris. Love the hair. Trying to go even more, girl? Shut up, Larry. Not in the mood. Xander starts walking past him. Don't ignore me, Harris. Larry calls. He grabs him by the ponytail, pulling him back. Gah! He tries. Eyes almost watering from the pain, he turns around smoothly, and in 3 quick blows, drops Larry to the ground. Baka! Sikanayo! He continues on, ignoring the huddled mass of whimpering bully. That was low, Xan. Did you really have to knee him there? Okay, so maybe it's not all bad, Xander mutters quietly, and yes, I did. His eyes seem to almost glow. He could have hurt my hair. He pauses for a moment, thinking about what he just said. He turns and pounds his head gently into a wall. Scene, library during lunch. "I just don't know what to do, Giles!" Xander exclaims. "Well, there seems to be no overt signs of possession. Do you know if Buffy or Willow are having similar experiences?" "I don't think Willow is. She probably would have said something about it. Besides, she's the only one of us who remembered who she was." "Hey, Giles!" Buffy barges in the library, followed a moment later by Willow. "Buffy," Giles replies, looking at her, "you seem happy." "Yep," she grins proudly. "I just aced myself a French test." Giles begins to polish his glasses. "Really?" he says skeptically. "As I recall, weren't you averaging a D in that class?" "Well, yeah, but... Hey, how'd you know that?" "Buffy, I'm a member of this faculty, and your watcher. It is my duty to ensure that you are applying yourself." He ponders for a moment. "Buffy, you went as an 18th century noblewoman, correct?" "Yeah, why?" "Have you been having any strange urges or reflexive actions, or perhaps odd memories?" "No, I mean, not really, aside from the French stuff anyway," she frowns. "Why do you ask?" "Well, Xander here has been having some odd experiences. He appears to have acquired smoking habits." Xander looks up, short pencil hanging out of his mouth, not voluntarily. "Ah, yes, quite. An odd reflexive protectiveness of his hair, and a fair amount of cooking skill." "I don't mind, Xan. I shared the bento with Giles and Buffy," Willow says. "Nah, that's all right. I'll just make more tomorrow," he frowns. "I need to get better rice, though. Maybe some nice squid." Scene change. Gym. Xander walks through the door. Whistling cheerfully, he comes to an abrupt halt. Oops, wrong door. He exits quietly, followed by a storm of hard objects. Chapter 3. Author's note. I'm struggling very, very hard to turn this into a dark fic to end all dark fics. I have temporarily won by compromising and deciding to write 2 versions. These versions will stay the same until shortly after a specific event. Fear. Disclaimer. Neither Sailor Moon nor Buffy the Vampire Slayer belong to me. I just like to make with the hurting. I'm scared, Giles. Willow slowed as she approached the library's office. That was Xander's voice. Every day I have these weird thoughts and impressions. Hell, I walked in the girls' locker room on purpose, and not to ogle the girls either. She stopped outside the door and pressed her ear against it in an attempt to hear better. I'm not sure what I can do for you, Xander. I have researched the spell that Ethan used, and the literature indicates that the implanted memories should fade over a period of time, not become stronger. Well, yeah, that's exactly what's happening, Xander laughs a bit in a disturbing manner. I looked at you this morning, and you'll never guess what the first thought through my head was. He stops and waits for Giles to speak. I don't have the foggiest, I'm afraid. And I quote, he's pretty hot for an old guy. Giles clears his throat suddenly and begins to polish his glasses. Well, of course I will step up my research into what might be causing this, and any ways to eradicate these memories from your mind. He pauses a moment, considering. If I may be so bold. You said you were dressed as a Japanese schoolgirl, correct? Yes. Now this character, was there anything odd about her? Any magical or psionic powers? She was a Sailor Scout. And that is precisely what? Xander hesitates for a moment, beginning to dredge the memory up. A pretty sailor-suited warrior for love and justice? They have magic powers that they get from the planets, and they're always going on about the moon. Giles drops his glasses. Oh, dear Lord. What? What is it? Visibly shaken, Giles bends down to pick up his glasses. I must research something. Yes, research. Excuse me. He stands and shoves his glasses back on his face as he makes for the office door. Hey! Xander shouts. Wait, I'm not going to die, am I? Giles stops, his hands on the doorknob. Willow darts away from the door and heads outside the library, missing what Giles said next. No, Xander, I do not believe you're going to die. He pauses, considering. However, you may not be particularly happy in the manner you are not dying. That doesn't sound good, Xander mutters, looking down. No, Giles said, head bowed. I can very much imagine it does not sound good. For what it's worth, however, I am sorry. He slips out the door, heads back to the stacks. Xander stays in the office, head bowed, for a long time. Scene. A few days later. Nightly patrol. I don't know what's going on anymore. Xander says from his spot on the bench. Is it getting... Oof! Good hit, Buffy exclaims from where she was fighting a vampire. Worse? Willow winces. Harsh. She's sitting on the bench as well, eating some kosher popcorn. No, see, that's the problem. She didn't recognize me from the back, and we spent a few minutes chatting about conditioners and lotions. No man should know as much as I do about skin lotions. Well, Willow interjects meekly, that doesn't sound too bad. Steak, Buffy cries. Xander tosses one of them absently. A quiet poof later, she saunters absently to the bench and sits next to Willow. What's wrong with knowing your skin lotions? Xander stops pacing and staring at the two of them. I need some guy friends. Incoming, Buffy! Willow pops another handful of popcorn into her mouth. At 1 o'clock. Buffy looks at Willow, startled. Then her face relaxes in comprehension. Ah, got him now! Wills, you're getting spooky at that, you know. It's a gift, she shrugs nonchalantly. As Buffy vaults to her feet, Xander slides to her vacated spot smoothly, draping one arm around Willow. Go get him, Buff! He looks at Willow. How'd you do that anyways? I'm not entirely sure, Willow swallows her popcorn. It's kind of weird. Actually, it's like there's a light that's illuminating him, but that light is darkness. I think it's a side effect of my, more esoteric studies. How's it going on those anyways? It's really quite fascinating, actually. Once you start separating each spell into its quanta, initializing them separately, I should start getting some real studies in another few months. Start defining the matrix equations and... She was abruptly cut off as another creature came out from behind a mausoleum, smashing her brutally on the back of her head. She fell forward, stunned, a slow trickle of blood spreading through her hair. Xander watched it in stunned horror. Turning, he gazed upon the thing that had done that to his Willow. The monster chuckles darkly.
Her blood smells of power. I wonder how it tastes.
You'll never have the chance to find out, he stood, slipping one hand behind his jacket and drawing a stake. The monster stood, staring at him.
Puh, human scum. Not even a breath of power.
He stood, arrogantly waiting his attack. Xander dove, screaming at it. Suddenly, the world snapped into slow motion. The demon casually sidestepped the thrust and almost languidly tapped him on his chest as he flew past. Time sped up again. As he flew, propelled by the hit a good 5 meters and crashed into the gravestone. No! Buffy yelled, then almost casually finished the last vampire by the simple expedient of ripping his head from his shoulders. She charged at the demon. Xander slowly dragged himself upright, coughing. He hacked out some blood and then detected a burning stare at the monster. His hand went behind his back again. Never pora skada mima scallop never blanking chicken. Wow! There was a brief flash of light. When it ended, nothing would be the same again. Chapter 4. Author's note. You know what really talks me off? I'm trying to go from British slang when I'm speaking to Giles to California airhead slang when I'm speaking as Buffy, Cordy, Willow, Xander. I don't even know that up on pop culture. 'Tis a sad, sad thing when I can sound more British than American without even attempting to do so. I've never been to the East Coast, let alone England. Sulks off, muttering under his breath. Fear. Disclaimer. Neither Sailor Moon nor Buffy the Vampire Slayer belong to me. I just like to make with the hurting. The light faded. Standing where Xander had fallen was a tall, Juno-esque woman, wearing finely crafted emerald half-plate armor over chainmail so fine it flows like silk, shimmering in the moonlight. On one hand, she bore a spear 7.5 feet long, the point decorated with runic inscriptions seemingly floating on the metal, and the other a winged helmet. Firmly sitting her helmet on her head, she hurts the spear. Buffy scrambles to the top, trying to figure out what's going on. The demon stands still, its mouth hanging open, revealing a truly disgusting array of unclean teeth. The woman stands directly at the monster, miniature lightning bolts crackling about her form, charging her hair, which rises up in a blue-brown halo behind her. Yikar Bunahog! The demon has time to say one thing before the spear. Almost invisible behind its corona of blue light whitening strikes.
Oh.
The spear torches through it, so much energy grounding through the monitor all at once that it instantly flash-boiled and chunkified. The spear continued for some distance before getting lodged in the cement and stone of the mausoleum, behind the mausoleum that the demon had sprung from. She gazes with fascination upon the chunks of demon, and she looks at Willow. Yikar sport raka, nyan. She slumps slightly, then looks around the clearing, evaluating things. Gaze comes to acknowledging her. Vandermeer! And she faints, falling to the ground. Giles' apartment. Buffy looked ridiculous as she maneuvered the stairs, heading toward Giles' apartment, Willow supporting herself with an arm around Buffy's waist, carrying a girl who was considerably taller than she herself. "Giles!" she hollers, kicking at the door gently. "Come on, open up already!" A few moments pass. Then a rustling sound approaches the doors. "Giles!" she hollers again. He opens the door, blinking owlishly at her through his glasses. "Good grief, Buffy, why didn't you simply use the key I lent you?" Buffy stares at her for a few seconds before catching onto her burden. Oh, dear Lord, here, pass me, Willow." "I'm awake," Willow slurs out, wavering as she steps towards Giles. Grasping his hand and steadying considerably, he leads her to the couch where he lays her out. As he's doing that, Buffy sits down another burden on the sturdy chair. It creaks slightly, and the girl whirled to the more comfortable position without awakening. Buffy looked to the unconscious woman up and down carefully. She was heavy, a lot heavier than her height and armor would account for. And armor, no straps, no buckles, no cords, not even a seam she could see. "How the hell do you get that off?" she wondered out loud. Giles asks as he returns from the kitchen. "Nothing, Giles, just thinking out loud." "How's Willow doing?" One moment. He tucks a cold compress under her head along with a pillow and fishes out a penlight. He shines the light in her eyes. He continues speaking. "Can you tell me what happened?" "Sure, Giles," she said, sitting down on the floor against the wall as Giles eases Willow's shoes off. "We were sitting and talking, and then Willow spotted a couple of vampires, so I got up to dust them." "Where?" "Near the center of Lakeview Cemetery by one of those mausoleum things." Giles nodded. Continue. "Anyways, I was fighting them. They were pretty decent, not great, but enough to get my blood pumping. So anyway, the next thing that happens, I hear Willow cry out, and I turn around, and she's lying on the grass, unconscious, and Zan looks like he's going to go nuts. I killed one of the vampires, then I moved to kill the thing that hurt Willow, but the other vamp blocked me. The next thing I heard was this god-awful thump noise, and I turn, and Xander's against a gravestone like he's hurt real bad, and he coughs up blood, so I run to him." "The other vampire?" Giles asks quietly. "He's dust," as Buffy says, distinctly, her eyes unfocused. "I'm not mad. Just sure what happened was in my way, and then suddenly, poof, vamp gone. So I ran towards the monster, and Xander says something, I don't know. It wasn't English." Giles takes his glasses off and begins to polish them. He motions for her to continue. "Anyway, I think he was threatening it or something. Then, boom, this brilliant white light covered him. And it was like it was gone. She," Buffy indicates the sleeping woman, "was there. She jabbered something at the demon, and he was just standing there, its mouth open. And then it swears, oh, f***, and then a lightning bolt hit him." Giles sits up, asks intently, "Is the demon dead?" Yeah, pretty sure." Buffy drags a piece of something out of her hair. "Just loving this job more and more every day." She flicks the piece of demon into the cold fireplace. "So anyways, then I noticed she didn't have her spear with her, so I figured, was a lightning bolt that hit the demon?" "Spear, can you describe it for me?" "Sure, the half thingy was taller than she was, maybe 7 feet or so long, and the blade went on for another foot almost. Looked like there was some stuff carved in the spearhead, but I didn't get a good look at it. Had a studded metal butt cap, too." "I'll have to see the weapon. Buffy, do you know where it is?" Maybe. I'm pretty sure it's still at Lakeview, somewhere. Anyways, I'm not done yet. She killed the demon, then she looked at Willow, saying some gibberish. Something on sister, then she saw me, and then something banned the mother fainted, and Xander was still gone, so I grabbed them both and carried them here." On sister, banner mother. Giles finishes, pulling Willow's shoes off, and then pulls an afghan to cover her. "Bandama, on sister?" Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what she said," Buffy replied, wide-eyed. "What does it mean?" Giles sat down, looking ineffably exhausted. "She named you, Buffy, and called Willow her soul sister." Buffy frowns. "So Banner Mother means Buffy in her language?" Giles frowns and starts polishing his glasses. "No, Bandama means Slayer, perhaps Death Dealer." "No, Slayer's a more concise word." She could tell what I am? Just by looking at me?" Giles stares at her for a long period. "Perhaps, and perhaps not. Now, you said Xander disappeared, and this woman appeared in the same breath?" "Yes." Buffy studies Giles carefully. He has this distant look on his face, and he's polishing his glasses. She looks around the room more carefully, noting the somewhat neat stacks of books lying on the coffee table, as well as the afghan and pillow that had already been on the couch. "Is something applicably going on?" "No," Giles said frantically, his voice increased in strength only. "I'd only been doing a bit of research on the side for Xander," he whispers to himself, almost too low for Buffy to hear. "Too little, too late now, I fear." He shakes his head slightly and slides his glasses back on. "Buffy, I need you to go to the graveyard and retrieve her spear." Alrighty. Buffy turns to leave and pauses, head down. Do you think that Xander is okay? I mean, wherever he is? Giles looks at the young woman in the chair near him. I believe that he is closer than you might think. Wherever he is, whoever found him, is taking good care of him. You really believe that? Buffy asks, quietly, turning back to face him, noticing that once did his gaze waver from the unconscious woman's face. With all my heart, Giles says, sincerely, finally looking up into her eyes. She nods, right, and walks to the entryway, where she stops suddenly. Giles, she yells, the spear is here! And there it was, leaned neatly up against the umbrella rack, leather sheathed firmly unsecured around the blade. Really? Fascinating. Giles stepped out into the entryway to get a look at the weapon himself. Fascinating. He studied his glasses and stepped forward, one hand stretching out to touch the haft. A warning spark leaped out of them, blue-white. He yelped and stepped backwards. Giles, are you all right? Buffy asked from where she was standing. Fine. It was just a light jolt, only a warning. Fine. It was just a light jolt, only a warning. I suspect it would go much harsher if I was to attempt doing that again. You want me to try? No. That's quite all right. I do believe it is a perfectly acceptable position for the blade to be at, he grins wryly. Or at least not dangerous enough to force a test of the safeguards on the weapon. He yawns wildly. Go home, Buffy. Get some sleep. Oh, and call Willow's parents and inform them. And she's sleeping over at my house, so sorry we forgot to tell them earlier, yada yada. She grins at him wearily. I have done this before. Exit. Stage left. Buffy. Giles smirks at her, retreating back. Fact I am well aware of. Chapter 5. Author's note. I put the thoughts in italics. That's really hard to do in plain text encoding. Assumes any remarks are bold and in slash ellipses slash is italicized. Xander woke up with a violent start. Going from sitting asleep to standing and awake at 0.35 seconds. I don't want a cookie, Willow. Well, alright, he mostly awake. And then proceeds to waver on his feet, then collapse to the ground with a slightly quiet clatter of steel and chain. Not very awake at all, was he? Damn. Xander? Is that you? A tired, slightly pained voice whispered. There is no Xander. Only Zool. Apparently awake enough, however. A tired and again slightly pained giggle could be heard from the room. Ow, Willow whispered. Don't make me laugh. My head hurts. You all right, Wills? Xander moved to get up, bracing himself with one hand. He barely heard Willow's response. No. As light glinted off the finely articulated mellow gauntlets he appeared to be wearing, his gaze followed the line of the metal up, past his wrist, changed in a fine chainmail. Willow, how much do you remember about last night? He asked, trying to keep his voice as calm as possible as the gaze swept up his arm and towards his chest and towards two appendages he most significantly did not remember being there last time he looked in a mirror. While he was knowing nothing wrong with said appendages, as a matter of fact, he rather liked them. He apparently preferred those said appendages somewhere or another on his chest, like, say, Buffy's chest. Buffy's chest. Not much. Vampires. Pain. Lots of pain. Why? Xander dragged his thoughts off of Buffy's chest. This took rather a lot of work, but in the end he was successful. Buffy's chest. Mostly. No reason in particular, just, there was no kooky sex magic last night. Was there? Xander's brain snagged the kooky sex magic line, linked it to Buffy's chest, and then tied that to Willow, who was pretty darn cute, if she was his sort of sister, which resulted in an extremely entertaining image for Xander, who began to feel extremely warm, rather a lot like a wire that's been coiled too tight, and oddly a bit damp. He slapped himself across his face. Don't think about my wills like that, stupid perverted brain. Unfortunately, he forgot he was wearing gauntlets. God! Oh, holy F, that hurt like thing hell! He swore, loudly, with vigor even. Willow cringed at the sudden explosion of noise, and then cringed again as nausea rolled through because of the cringe. She womanly resisted the urge to cringe again at the cringe of the cringe. Not so loud, Xander. Wait. Yes, she was even thinking quietly. That wasn't Xander's voice. She cranked her eyelids open slowly. Suicidal photons! Managing to hold in the photon-inspired whimper. She looked around at the dimly lit room. She didn't see Xander anywhere. The only person in the room was this weird girl in medieval armor. nursing her jaw and swearing almost inaudibly. "You're not Xander! Where is Xander?" The cookie sect magic thought fragment went wandering through her mind a bit. It ran. Usually inevitable to Willow's mind is a thought fragment shaped a lot like Xander. Presented a series of new and interesting thoughts, most of which ran in the thoughts of new girl in funky armor who isn't Xander, which in turn presented Willow's mind with a host of new images, most of which would be slightly entertaining for the male audience. So it's really too bad none of them are going to be presented here. Willow slapped herself upside the head, metaphorically speaking. "Get hold of yourself, Willow." Xander turned around and looked at Willow. What'd you say?" She looked really pale, and the white bandage wrapped around her head contrasted quite sharply, and badly, against her hair and skin. She slapped herself again, mentally this time. Now was not the time for color coordination, brain. "Where's Xander?" Willow asked again, a bit more forcefully. "Huh?" Xander replied intelligently. He stood up and moved towards the couch where she resided. "I'm right here, Willow." She shrank back against the cushions. "You're not Xander," she said shakily. "Xander's a guy." He looked down, attempting to see the rest of his body. Unfortunately, most of the view was blocked by his new appendages, even in case as they were in the cuirass he was wearing. Well, at least it's not Dunlop disease. "I swear, Willow, it is me, your best bud, Xander." Willow sank back into the couch, and Xander leaned over a little further, arms outstretched, eyes pleading, thus setting up for the best-known cliches in hero circles, the misunderstood first meeting. If we rewind a tad and move the microphone closer to the door, you would have heard two people walking up to the door. One male, apparently properly British, and the other female, apparently SoCal bottle blonde through and through. Your first impressions are not entirely mistaken. Their conversation is innocent enough. Something to do with donuts. They're filling fat content therein, and the chances of it going straight to her hips or thighs. The older man pulls a key out of his pocket and inserts it into the lock. Now, let us return to what has currently happened. The apartment door to the side of them opens unnoticed. So intent are the two still in the apartment on their drama, the quiet, "Oh dear Lord," goes unnoticed as well. However, Buffy's concentration of the conversation is much, much harder than this. Seeing the armored girl apparently threatening her best female friend, Slayer instincts went into high gear. Hand-to-hand was contradicted. While bone against bone is unwise, bone against whatever likelihood magically reinforced metal armor is just really dumb. So the Slayer grabbed, or at least attempted to grab, the most effective weapon closest to hand. As this was a British man's apartment, and she was close to the front door, the weapons closest at hand consisted of 2 umbrellas, a cane, and a long spear, leaning nicely against the wall. As the Slayer reached towards the weapon, sparks began to fly, literally, on the spear-shaped hand grip. The Slayer dismissed it as irrelevant magical phenomena. Sparks began to jump back and forth between the weapon and the Slayer's hand. The Slayer ignored this, sublimely confident the weapon would submit to the Slayer, because after all, she is the Slayer. Shortly thereafter, the Slayer met the opposite wall at a high rate of speed, accompanied by a decently loud crack of displaced air, leaving a sizable impression. And in winning a quick round of stud roulette, needless to say, Buffy was not happy about this. With a loud double crack of displaced air, Xander whirred, spear ready for chucking in one hand to face the door. Willow, eat! Pressed back further into the couch. All you could see was a pair of white eyes, a bit of white bandaging, shock of red hair. Crap, Buffy, are you alright? Dropping the spear behind him as he moved, he ran to the door, where Giles was grabbing the cane out of his umbrella stand. He slid to a stop on his knees beside Buffy and reached towards her neck to check the pulse whilst ignoring a clattering noise behind him. He did not, however, ignore the very sharp blade which was suddenly resting across his throat. He froze. Stop, Giles said, voice as cold as ice. Hands down. He tried it again. Giles! And was cut off by the cold blade sliding against his throat. Just the tiniest amount. Do not speak, Giles said. Now, without standing. Back slowly away from the girl. Xander did as he was told, and slowly began sliding away from the girl. Giles at his back, sword at his throat. 30 cautious seconds later, Xander was a good 5 feet from Buffy and edging further away every second. A low groan interrupted them. That's far enough. Do not move again. Giles turned his head slightly to look at Buffy. Are you all right, Slayer? His voice full of cool disdain, the perfect image of a council watcher. Mental note, Buffy groans. Don't touch strange magical weapons. She shakes her head vigorously, trying to clear the cobwebs out. The only thing visibly accomplished by a tangling of her hair into even more frazzled mess. I'm good, Giles. Slayer, no names. We still don't know who this is, Giles barked, cutting Buffy off at the pass, so to speak. Yeah, sorry, Watcher. Now then, Giles continues. This time Willow interrupts timidly, still from somewhere inside the couch. She says her name is Xander. She doesn't look like Xander at all. Xander's cuter than she is. The person in question flushes, either in anger or embarrassment, as he tries to decide if that was a compliment or an insult. I want my Xander, Willow continues in a small tone. So, Giles looks around the room to see if anyone else wants to interrupt. Can you provide any proof that you are, in fact, Xander? What's Xander's middle name? Willow asks quietly. Intriguing question. I don't believe I've seen a middle name associated with Alex before. Does he even have a middle name? Buffy asks. It's Xander, he replies irritably. I'd rather die than tell you my middle name. Giles glances over at Willow, who grins impudently at them before wincing in pain and sinking back into her couch, apparently now fully relaxed in her presence. Evidently very nearly proof enough. How about something else? Something you've only told one person in this room. Do I have to? Please. The only thing I could think of off the top of my head was what I told you a few days ago in your office. I really don't want to go say that again. Giles backs up slightly, allowing Xander to twist around and look at him. Her eyes widen slightly. Oh, thank God, you're not hot anymore. I say. Giles lets the point of his Zanoichi drop slightly, clearly taken aback by that last comment, unsure how precisely to respond to it. Xander? Buffy asks, walking up close to the kneeling girl. Is that really you? She looks deeply into the girl's eyes, searching their depths. It is, isn't it? She whispers. Yeah, it's me. Excuse me. She looks down at their chest. Apparently with a slight different options package now. At least I get a consolation prize. She thumps her chest with one hand. Giles backs up towards the entryway and sheaths his Zatoichi. I'm terribly sorry, Xander. I had hoped I'd find more information for you before anything happened. He starts polishing his glasses. Xander stands up and stretches. Ooh, limber. She flushes slightly. It's all right, G-Man. You find anything at all? Giles averts his eyes from Xander's general direction. One must not perv on one's students, after all. Especially when that student was male the day before. Found a few things. Unfortunately, most of the council's information on the subject were lost when Giles walks over to a low table to check his notes. A Takanuchi Nakano absconded with all the research material. Slightly afterwards, she was too high profile to, quietly but forcefully retrieve the material. Some silly cartoon show that she wrote and made her quite famous. Giles stops speaking for a moment. She sighs, then turns once again to face Xander. Bearing that in mind, I have found some information, somewhat apocryphal. He's interrupted as, almost in unison, Buffy and Xander palm their faces and say, Oh no! Not another one! Willow starts giggling, quietly. Giles groans. Apocryphal, not apocalyptic. The information is of dubious quality. It has a suspect nature. Oh, Buffy shrugs. Xander smirks. Who did I offend? Giles asks rhetorically, looking at the ceiling. He looks down at the ground. Oh, that's right. Never mind. He looks back at Xander, takes his glasses off, and begins to polish them. As I was saying, the information I found is somewhat dubious in nature. Apparently at some point between 10 and 100 millennia ago, some form of benevolent kingdom ruled the planets. The defender of the kingdom were universally female, and were magically linked to something that provided them, with apparently rather awe-inspiring amounts of power. He sits down on the couch next to Willow, curled up, and was listening to him intently. Picking up a book on the table, he turns to a page and lays it, open, on the table. This, he indicates the picture, is a representation of what we believe the defenders to look like. It's based upon stone carvings found in the Bayanakalesh mountains of the Guangxi province in China. Their carvings were guided by a tribe of powerful female warriors, and are believed to be copies of older carvings. They themselves are believed to be over 2,000 years old. Now, if you're... Giles looks at the two girls staring across from him. They were leaning on each other, Buffy drooling slightly, and Xander's eyes were glazed over. You lost them at Banakalaya Mountains, Willow says. Would you be so kind? Certainly. Willow throws a pencil at Xander, striking her in the middle of the forehead. Eraser first. The Pythagorean theorem! She jerks, eyes unglazing, and looks about. Dirty pool, Willow, she mutters. Buffy, jarred by her support's sudden removal, falls to the ground, but wakes and catches herself smoothly before hitting. Huh? You were drooling, Buffy, Willow says wildly. Was not. She quickly wipes her face. guiltily hiding the telltale sheen of fresh drool. Was too. Xander tries somewhat futilely to wipe the drool off her pauldron. Metal doesn't pick up drool very well. Giles tosses her a handkerchief, as she smiles thankfully at him before wiping the drool off before tossing it back to Giles. Quite. Now, as I was saying, the Council believes this to be a carving of one of the defenders attacking a group of demons. Note that the armor style is very similar to what you're currently wearing. Xander, she got her tongue unstuck from the roof of her mouth. Gah! And pointed at the impression. 30+ demons, as well as the rock outcroppings that seemed to surround them, gave the impression of evaporating into nothingness. Ah, yes, quite a good sculptor the artist was. I've done a bit of work. Xander and Buffy look around the room, at the stacks of ancient texts and treatises on languages on chairs, side tables, and bookcases, and mouth a bit to each other. And I believe I've translated the text in the carving. It appears to be Proto-Sumerian, mixed with an ancient form of Entrechin, which is... Giles, what does it say? Buffy whines. What she said. Guardian Saturn, summoning the silence. And that tells us what precisely, Xander asks. Not a great deal, but all information is useful, Giles sighs. As fascinating as this all is, there's further research I must do on this. Buffy, Willow, you should probably be getting along. Your parents will be wondering where you are, and I don't think you're up to walking home alone just yet. The two girls nod, and Buffy helps Willow from her couch. We'll talk to you soon, Giles. Xander. The new female Xander nods and starts towards the door. Ah, Xander, Giles says quietly. I'd like to talk to you for a few more minutes. He pauses as Xander heads back towards him. Buffy and Willow stop at the door. Privately, if you don't mind. The girls shrug, look at each other, Xander, and an assuring nod from Xander, head out the door. Giles gestures for Xander to take a seat. As she does so, he paces across the room. A few minutes pass as Giles paces, deep in thought. Giles? Xander tentatively asks. What do you want? Lord, give me your strength. Xander, Giles says quietly, I want you to know something. I haven't seen the boy. No, he is no boy. He is indeed a man. This lost since the harvest. I've always thought of you as the son I would never have, and no matter your outward form, I would still consider you my son. Unshed tears shone brightly in Xander's eyes as he lunged off the couch and hugged Giles. Good Lord, one would think no one has ever shown him, her, whatever paternal affection before. Xander? A sharp pause. Xander! Another sharp pause. Air becoming an issue. Xander released Giles as if she was burned. Leaped backwards a step. Oh God, Giles, I didn't hurt you, did I? No, not a bit. Only my aching ribs. That's gonna leave a mark. Just remember, plate armor isn't the most comfortable thing to be squeezed with. I'm sorry, Giles, I didn't mean to. It's all right, Xander. No harm done. He reached out to clap Xander on the shoulder, but froze as Xander almost imperceptibly flinched. If she had been wearing normal clothes, or if this had been a normal day, Giles would have never seen it. He continued the movement, but much slower. Now then, he said, gripping Xander's pauldron, we just need to figure out a way to get you out of this armor. And I need to find a way to check the parameciums masquerading as Xander's parents. No straps, clasps, haps, or even seams. He examines the suit carefully. Is it comfortable? Actually, yeah, it is pretty comfy. Xander spit red-faced from close examination Giles was doing. Moved around a bit. Almost a full range of movement. I think better than, well, when I was a guy. Even with this armor on. Because there's no muscle strain. Even when I do deep stretches like this. And it doesn't chafe, which is great. Giles flushed a bit as Xander demonstrated her new range of motion. Ah, yes, quite limber. Must not perv on students, must not perv on students. What ways have you tried to remove the armor? Xander's face dropped a bit. I haven't really tried, to tell the truth. Giles sighed and said wisely, why not? Xander said nothing. Afraid? He asked gently. No. Well, a little bit. She sits down. Hands fisted in her lap. Looks at Giles, almost tentatively. I mean, what if I'm stuck like this? What am I going to do then? Stuck in the armor or stuck as a female? Either. Both. Giles sits down next to Xander. Well, there's not much we can do about either of those things until we find out if you're trapped in that armor or permanently female. He pauses for a moment, considering. I must say, you are handling this quite well. Yeah, well, I'm gibbering in quiet panic on the inside. Giles leans back against the couch, eyes on focus. Quite a bit better than I did. Xander nods. Yeah? Wait, rewind. Say what? I don't believe I've told any of you this, Giles reflects. I had a bit of a rebellious youth, you may say. My family had been in the council for generations. Quite a respected name was Giles. He looked down at his hands unseeing. Then I came along. Couldn't stand the council. Thought they were a bunch of stodgy old hidebound gits. Wanted to be a grocer, possibly a fighter pilot. So I struck out any way I could, and made the worst mistake of my life. One that still haunts me to this day. Struck up a friendship with a disreputable young mage by the name of Ethan Rain. The same? The same. We had some interesting times. Now to the relevant portion. Ethan's a bit of a prankster, and we occasionally played pranks on each other. It's usually on Son Haim. One year, Ethan turned me into a woman for 2 days. It was different. I didn't deal well with it. Did you get him back? Giles grins wickedly. Well, you could say that. For New Year's I transposed... He trails off, seeing the blank look on Xander's face. That is, I placed his spine in the back seat, so to speak, of a female cat. Ooh, that's inventive. I failed to mention the cat was in heat at the time. Damn! That is wrong, G-Man. Just plain wrong! It was, wasn't it? That's when things started to go downhill. Ethan got more and more out of control, and our prank war spiraled upward. He was a good friend once, years ago. Anyway, your armor. It does appear to be your armor. Its aura is meshed with yours. Giles takes his glasses off and peers at Xander nearsightedly. He sighs. Which is different than it was last week. Wait, my aura is different? Yes. Since it meshed with your aura, you should be able... No! Xander interrupts. Go back to that bit about my aura and how it's different. Giles locks eyes with Xander for a few moments, and then sighs. Very well. Before Halloween, your aura was very typical of a male teenager. Lots of yang, little bit of yin. That's the male and female principles, for the most part. In response to Xander's confused look, after Halloween, your aura was much more balanced, much more yang than yin. Now it's switched, more yin than yang. Merely that means you as a whole are more female than male, body, mind, and spirit. Giles raises a hand to forestall the outburst he can feel coming. It does not mean that your sexual orientation will change or that you yourself are female. Merely as it stands, you are more female than male. Hardly surprising when you consider that you have a very definitely female body. A powerful female guardian spirit that's been around for millennia, currently hitching a ride in your head. So the guardian spirit isn't actually in residence right now. I can still sense a touch on my son. Damn, it's got a ring to it, my son. Oh, so that's not so bad then, Xander says, still not looking happy about it. What were you saying about my armor? Oh yes, as I began to say, I believe that if you simply will the armor off, it should leave. Alright. Xander closed her eyes and concentrated on his armor. A few moments later, her helmet appeared in her hand. That's not quite right. What were you concentrating on? Giles asked, notepad ready and pen poised. I was thinking about my armor. Giles wrote down the thought and accomplished. Okay. Building a mental image of yourself, wearing your street clothes. Alright, Xander said, a bit dubiously. A good 30 seconds pass as Xander works to build her self-image, and then starts to concentrate on it. Eventually, the armor seems to dissolve away, leaving a brilliant white light behind that slowly dissolves into Xander's typically garish Hawaiian button-up, unbuttoned over white undershirt with green jeans. She opens her eyes. Did it? Yeah, it worked. She looked down at herself. Damn, what do you think, Giles? 42C? Giles rubs his forehead with one hand. Xander, do please concentrate on the situation at hand, not the one in hand. She drops herself, so to speak, and points at Giles. Was that a joke? If it was, it wasn't a very good one, she says, taking her glasses off and polishing them. Now, I think what we should do for now is have you move in here with me. A niece. Just a farm from the Isles, that shall do. For now, that's acceptable for you? Yeah, that'll be fine. Thanks, Giles. I really appreciate this. Oh, it's no problem at all, Xander. Giles smiled at her for a moment before his expression turned serious. You will need to head to your house and pick up some essentials. You're right to do that, or would you rather buff your eye to it? Xander quickly checks the wall clock and shrugs at Giles. I can do it. It's 11 in the morning. Mom and Dad are probably drunk and asleep in front of the television by now. Back in a few, G-Man. She turns around and heads for the door again. Giles watches her depart. I'll be here when you get back, he says. She goes to the door of the outside world. Son, he adds as the door closes behind her. End. Thus concludes our Halloween episode of Pretentious Internet Theatre. I'd like to remind you, you can email this program at pretentiousinternettheatre@gmail.com or simply follow the email links provided on tinyurl.com/pitpod or pitpodcast. Yes, we have many bites of the candy apple for you. Next time on Pretentious Internet Theatre, I'll be reading On Dark Wings and Dark Nights. And I'd like to remind you that there are many things that go bump in the night, but only the best make Pretentious Internet Theatre. Good night, and the pleasure was all yours. No, really, it was all yours.